All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for a few real people out there, just like you and just like me. All right, before I talk about how Pearl Jam mysteriously canceled a show and why this is happening, I've covered this a little bit before, and Pearl Jam is not one of my favorite bands. Just in case you were wondering, I've already covered that multiple times. Anyway, here is Overland, and this came out a number of years ago. It's called Contagious. Steve Overland, who was a guest on this show, I think last year, talking about Lone Rider, which is one of my favorite projects that he's been involved with. If you're a fan of Bad Company or Foreigner, you might want to check out this brand new album, not the one I showed you, but this new Overland album entitled Six. Okay. I think it's number 6 in the canon, featuring Steve Overland from FM and Lone Rider. If you don't know his work in FM, you should probably explore FM first, but I really enjoy the Lone Rider stuff. Also featuring the great Robert Saul from the band Work of Art. And so you're going to get a great melodic rock record. I haven't heard one song from it, but I highly recommend you go check it out. Escape-music.com. Great record label, Escape Music. They put out all this stuff that just flies under the radar. So you should follow them on Facebook, whatever you need to do to keep up with what's happening with Khalil Turk and his amazing, absolutely amazing record label. Now, on to Pearl Jam. So I'm going to talk about how Pearl Jam just mysteriously canceled a concert. Again, I'm not a big Pearl Jam fan, but this was over the weekend. Last weekend, Pearl Jam postponed the band's Sunday night show at the Ruoff Music Center. Now, I don't think they gave anybody a lot of notice. In a statement, the band said the concert was being rescheduled due to illness. The band is deeply sorry and thinking about all those who travel to shows. Yeah, that is a big deal. Booking hotels and some cases flying in, as well as the great crowd in Indianapolis. It's obviously serious. This is what they're saying. And we wish there was another way around it. Again, we apologize and thanks so much for your understanding. It's not easy. No, it's not easy on the fans. Tickets will be honored for a future rescheduled date. Ticket holders who cannot make the new show will be eligible for a refund. Upcoming concerts in Fort Worth on September 13th and 14th, and in Austin on September 18th and 19th remain scheduled as planned, said the band. Now, this is kind of interesting. You know, a couple of years ago, at the height of the thing-demic, when shows were being canceled left and right, an industry insider reached out to me and said, the bands now have to sign contracts, and the contracts have riders. Now, what is a rider? Rider is a legal term referring to the additions made to an existing contract. It's typically tacked on or rides the original agreement. That's how it gets its name. The purpose of a rider is to modify, clarify, or add more information to the initial contract after it has already been signed by the legal parties involved. These modifications or additions, when accomplished, means that save everyone the time and expense of having to basically rewrite a new contract from scratch. Contract riders in real estate, in government, and in entertainment are very common. And the reason I believe these contract riders were put into effect is because promoters didn't want to have any sort of liability. Say a band comes to your town and suddenly they take this very sensitive test and they find out, oh no, they've got the thing, right? This is what I used to call it a couple of years ago. I'm going to revert back here for the sake of censorship and things that have happened recently to me on my other channel, which I will put a link to here in case you want crazy political commentary. That's what I do on the other channel. Okay, so crazy in a good way. Think of it that way. So the contract writer is there to protect the venue from liability in case some of those flying particles go out into the audience and do damage, infect people who have already gone to CVS multiple times, which again, this doesn't make a lot of sense. But the contract writer also says if somebody tests positive for this, whatever it is, I'm not willing to say anymore that it's this or that because it's morphed and mutated. And so they're even saying, in some circles, not in the mainstream, that this is much less worrisome and bothersome than the stuff that was happening a couple of years ago. But nobody wants to be liable. So the writer basically says, if you test for this, then the show gets canceled. And it's crazy because all kinds of financial chaos ensues. The people who paid the money to be there, not just the tickets, but like I say, the airfare, the hotel room, maybe they were planning to go out to eat, whatever it is that adds to that whole concert experience. And for me, I wouldn't do any of this to go see Pearl Jam. No offense to the Pearl Jam fans out there. If you've watched this channel for a while, I'm not a fan of grunge. In fact, I think grunge destroyed the music industry in some ways. Not completely, but it certainly helped. And the record labels were, somewhat responsible for what ensued, because my argument has always been that this music could have coexisted with the stuff that was popular at the time rather than just shutting down everything that was popular. And you could say, well, tastes changed and so forth. Some people enjoy both. They can listen to the melodic hair metal music that was out at the time, along with this new, sort of angst-driven, negative, dark music that they could maybe coexist. And what happened was you basically eliminated all of those bands that knew how to write happy, sort of major key melodic music. And, instead you get the darker minor key and guys who just bang on their guitars and hope for the best, because that's really what happened during the 90s. And we're still living with that outcome today. So that's a little sort of side commentary about why I'm not a big fan. Now, I acknowledge that compared to a lot of the music that's coming out today, grunge has some merit. It was organic. And what else? I'm trying to think. It was organic and it was sung for real. There wasn't any auto-tune. There didn't need to be, really. I mean, those guys weren't really concerned with the singing part of grunge, although there are some great voices that came out of that. The problem is they all kind of sound the same. That's, again, another argument. That's why I promote stuff like Overland, okay? Because melodic and great vocals, those two things, almost a thing of the past. So when you discover something, you want to share it with like-minded individuals. So getting back to the whole cancellation here, this is going to keep happening because of contract writers, and you essentially have to obey what's in the rider. And it's all contingent upon this test that you have to take. And I know a very famous drummer, okay, who had to take a test. He tested positive and missed probably the gig of a lifetime because of that. And turns out he had no symptoms or very, very minor symptoms. He had like the sniffles, and he could have easily played that evening, but was told that he had to quarantine, he had to shelter in place, which is what's probably happening now with members of Pearl Jam. If it's one, it's just the one member. Obviously, they may say, well, that member was with the other members Thus, everybody has to do the same thing, and will reevaluate on September 17th to see if they can play their gig in, Fort Worth or Austin or wherever that next show is. So in any event, folks, I figured I'd explain that and tell you that if you buy tickets for a show, be very aware that it could be canceled the day before or the day of the show, because they run these tests right up to almost showtime. I'm pretty sure it's like an hour or two before the band takes the stage. Oh, crap, I've got a negative test. And rather than me getting off the stage or just powering through like musicians did in the old days, because of those contract riders, guess what happens? They cancel the entire show. And this is the new normal in the concert industry. And I don't see this changing anytime soon. In fact, they're talking about new variants, and they're also releasing new products over at CVS and Walgreens, and they may rewrite these riders to include that band has to be up to date on all of these wonderful, safe, and effective products that are coming from these great companies here in the United States that certainly have your best interests at heart. Otherwise, they wouldn't be sponsoring your favorite TV shows at night, sometimes running 3, 4, 5, 10 ads during one episode, 1 hour-long episode of your favorite drama or cop show or whatever it is that you like to watch, if you even watch network television. So figured I'd explain all that so people had kind of an inside look at that. Not the most glamorous or interesting video, not that salacious, other than we're still living in the new normal. Here's Overland, Contagious. Again, their new album is called 6, okay? So check it out, Escape Music. It's escape-music.com. You can order yourself a vinyl copy of that, and the vinyl itself looks amazing, so you should check that out. Also, don't forget to check out modernretrofm.com. Great radio station playing all the music that other radio stations just don't have the courage to play, and that's the God's honest truth. And I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you to Rebecca for giving me the tip on the Pearl Jam issue. Have yourself a great day. God bless, and stay away from CVS if you can.